こんにちは。このビデオでは舞台メイク、ヘアデザインについてお話します。私はフロリダ州マイアミ大学ユニバーシティオブマイアミで准教授をしていますスキナー美智子です。衣装デザイナーです。私のプロフィールは衣装デザインのビデオで紹介していますので省略いたします。私と共にこのビデオでは私のマイアミ大学の同僚でアクティング講師のマケインさんをお迎えしています。彼女はディレクターでもあり、役者、アクティングはもちろんですが、大学のヘアメイク担当として授業も教えています。いろいろな分野を手掛けるマルチな才能をお持ちです。さて、このビデオでは以下のようなトピックをカバーしていきたいと思います。まずは課題1としてメイクアップデザイナーとヘアデザイナーの仕事、具体的にどんな仕事をするのか、デザイナーになるためのステップとプロセス、そして道具なども紹介します。課題には登場人物の分析をメイクアップとヘアを通じてどのように行うかを説明します。そして最後の課題3ではコラボレーションと衣装リハーサルのプロセスについて役者でヘアメイクデザイナーのマケインさんから双方から見た視点でお話しいただきます。まずレクチャーの始めにマケインさんの経歴などご本人から紹介していただきます。ではよろしくお願いします。
Hello everyone. My name is Maha McCain, and I grew up in St. Louis, Missouri, which is the heartland of the American Midwest. I studied art and music while I was growing up, and then started studying acting in high school. I went on to receive a Bachelor of Arts in Theater from the College of Worcester, located in Northern Ohio, and then received a Master of Fine Arts in Acting from Ohio University. During my time at university, I also spent some time living in New York, learning improvisation with Gotham City Improv, and also worked production for Universal Television. Since then, I've been teaching acting and improvisation full-time at the University of Miami. I still work as a professional actor and director, and for the past 10 years, I was the artistic director of the University of Miami's Summer Theater Academy for Children and Teens. Just this past year, I started directing improv shows for Royal Caribbean Cruise Lines. In the summertime, I travel to Italy, and I teach musical theater improv, acting, and improvisation as part of a theater intensive for college students. I also work as the resident hair and makeup designer for the Jerry Herman Ring Theater. I do love to tell stories through visual design, and I love transforming actors on stage. So I hope for the near future that I continue to act and direct professionally, and that I also start directing some virtual plays. I do plan to keep on designing, and I do plan to keep on working as a hair and makeup designer. Thank you. Hi, everyone. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about what the hair and makeup designer's jobs are. What I'd like to do is go into a little bit more detail about each of their responsibilities, and then talk to you about the types of theaters and shows that require the need of a hair and makeup designer. So, a makeup designer and a hair designer will usually be called in for a show that is working with a specific time period, something that does not reflect or look like our contemporary modern day world, anything that's going back maybe 20 or 30 years. Any type of production that is dealing with fantastical worlds or characters, something that involves magic, something that is not set on the planet as we know it, and then also any type of physical transformations that your actors require. It could be as simple as an actor needing to look like they've been beat up at some part of the show, so we're going to add bruises and scars. Or it could be as simple as taking a younger actor and making them look like they're 30 to 40 years older than what they actually are. And we also want to be thinking about what the actual makeup designer's job is. So you may be thinking of a makeup designer as a makeup artist, and there is a little bit of a difference between the two. Both the makeup artist and the makeup designer have to understand how to work with different skin types and how to make actors look at their best. A makeup artist also will probably often be called in to work on a bridal look or an extreme glam look for an event. And they also may be hired to work on fashion shoots and editorial shoots. A makeup designer will often be called in to work specifically on something that involves storytelling or any other type of very extreme look that needs to go beyond just an everyday beauty look. And these responsibilities can include understanding how to put on 3D makeup, something like latex or scars and wounds, with scar and nose wax, maybe some type of fantastical eyelash, or maybe putting feathers or sequins on the actor's skin. Also, just as we were saying earlier, the makeup designer has to be familiar with different types of looks from different types of historical periods. Something that could be going back again to mid-20th century, could also be going as far back as Restoration or Shakespearean, or even as far back as Greek and Roman theater. A makeup designer also has to be very concerned with the skin condition of their actors, but also of the characters. So, for example, if a character is a farmer who works outside all day, they're going to need to look like they have a significant amount of sun exposure. And you may be working with an actor that has very fair skin. It doesn't have a lot of, freckling or tan to their skin, and you're going to have to know how to replicate that. And most importantly, different from a makeup artist, is that the makeup designer is expected to attend production meetings and also attend rehearsals throughout the process. You're not coming in at the final stage of the production like maybe a makeup artist would, show up on the day of the photo shoot or the film shoot, do the look, and then they're done. A makeup designer is constantly part of that process. Similar to the makeup designer, the hair designer also has to be familiar with different types of historical eras and the styles that would be needed and how to achieve those styles with today's haircuts. But most importantly, the hair designer has to be familiar with working and styling all types of hair textures. It's not enough just to know how to do your own hair. It's not enough to know how to do straight hair. You may have an actor with very thick, curly hair, very limp, wavy hair. You may be dealing with an actor like me, who is black and or African American, that has very tightly coiled curly hair that you may need to keep curly or straightened or moisturized or etc. And that's part of your responsibility, is to know how to work with that, so that way you can help your actors achieve the looks that they need to. That also includes understanding how to work with different types of hairstyling tools and products, not only just with gels and hairsprays, but with blow dryers, with curling irons, with flat irons, with rollers, with setting rollers, for not only your actors, but also for your wigs and hair pieces that you're going to be doing. And last but not least, I think it's really important for a hair designer to know how to braid hair and do different types of braids. Many actors do not know how to style their hair, and many actors with long hair really have never braided their own hair. So you need to show them how to do this, especially if the style requires it. But more often than not, you need to show them how to do this when they're wearing a wig or a hairpiece. They can't just tuck all their hair up underneath the wig. We want to get the wig as flat and as close to their natural scalp as possible. Sometimes we could do this with pin curls, but more often than not, we're going to do this with some different types of braided styles. Okay. So, collaborating with a costume designer, which is one of my favorite parts of the job. I think it's really important to start these conversations as early as possible. I personally like to come in and start working with the costume designer and the production team during pre-production, before we get actors in rehearsal. Because I like to know what questions may come up from the director and his or her vision, or their vision. And I also like to hear what the production designer and the costume designer are thinking about as they are just throwing around ideas to say, could we do this, can we do that? It's easier for you to have all that information before you start doing your research and before you start shopping for your product. This also helps you to understand what the full aesthetic of the show is and to make sure you're adhering to that. You have to remember that being a hair and makeup designer is not just about creating really cool looks and projects for yourself to do, but it's about telling the story that the playwright wanted told. So you all are going to be working together as a team to get one cohesive look, so the audience is seeing one cohesive story. You also want to make sure that as you are talking to your costume designer, you're discussing any possible quick changes that might come up. They could be as simple as just changing a costume, and so you want to let your actor know, be careful with your hair and makeup as you're doing this. But these quick changes could also involve actually doing a change in makeup and a change in a wig or hairpiece or a complete style. The more that you know these are coming, the easier it is for you to prep for them, the easier it is for you to help your actors achieve them when you get to dress rehearsal. Same as knowing when those quick changes are going to come up, you also want to make sure that you're getting your hair pieces and your wigs prepped as soon as possible as the hair designer. I personally like to try to have my wigs and hair pieces done before actors are going into their second fittings, because I think it's really important to help the costume designer and the director and the production team know what the full look is going to be. So if you're able to be present and attend some of those costume fittings with your actors, and you can go ahead and give them the hair and wig pieces that they need, you could take your pictures then, see the whole look, see what changes need to be made, and again, you're giving yourself plenty of time before you get to dress rehearsal, final dress, opening, to make any changes that you need. Also, what if you have special effects in your show and you need to make any changes? What if it's a special effect you haven't done before? Or what if it's a special effect that you have to train your actors and or wardrobe crew to do? Again, the sooner you can get those figured out and give yourself a chance to practice them and test them and take pictures, the easier it is to have a conversation with your entire team and to make sure you have anything and everything needed before you get your actors on stage. Okay. So now you've learned a lot about what do the makeup and hair designers do, but you may be thinking, what do I need to know in order to become one? Well, it's really important to make sure not only do you have the practical knowledge, which you may already have from a cosmetology school, and that's amazing and extremely helpful, but I also like to recommend that if possible, you get a degree in design from a university. A degree in design is going to give you so much more knowledge about storytelling for theater and for film and for television, because you're going to understand how to read a script, how to analyze a script. You're going to get practical experience working with a production team. You're going to get practical experience understanding aesthetic, silhouette, palette, and how all of those come together in order to create a character on stage. You're also going to learn, as you're studying for your degree, basic anatomy, understanding how to make transformations, knowing the musculature and bone structure of your actors and what you're trying to change it from what they naturally have to looking like they have something else. And then you really need to just make sure you practice. A lot of these things that you're going to be doing as a hair and makeup designer are going to be skills-based rather than just idea-based. So it's great if you can draw and sketch out what something's supposed to look like, but if you can't do the styling, if you can't do the application, then you're not really fulfilling your full responsibility as the designer. So you need to know how to do the style so that way you can train your team and train your actors to be as successful as possible. We were just talking a second ago about needing to know the practical, but you also still need to know how to present your ideas to the team before you get your actors in front of you. So know how to visually communicate. Make sure that you're bringing in your own research. Make sure you're creating a mood board and an image board to help people understand how you arrived at your ideas and what your inspirations are. But then also just present everything to the team as much as possible. We're talking about design. We're talking about what things look like. We're talking about how things are going to relate to each other. And the more that you can visually communicate your ideas, the easier it is for the costume designer, for the set designer, for the lighting designer to understand how everything is going to create that full cohesive aesthetic. And doing all of this is going to help you be the best collaborator that you can be. You're not working by yourself. You're working as part of a team. You're telling one story as a team. So the more that you could be supportive of what everyone's needs are, hopefully the more they're going to do the same for you, and you all are going to be working on the same page from the first production meeting to the final dress. The difference between street makeup and stage makeup. Okay, so street makeup is what people wear every single day, which you can easily buy from the drugstore. Liquid or powder foundations, powder eyeshadows, powder blush, usually maybe a cream-based blush, a gel-based blush, maybe a bronzer, maybe a setting powder, mascara, eyeliner, brow powder, so on. Makeup that enhances your look so that you can look as pretty, as handsome, as striking as possible, but still look like your normal self. When we start talking about stage makeup, now we're moving from a powder type of product to usually a cream type of product. Why? The cream makeup goes on heavier on the face. It can be highly pigmented. The cream makeup stays a lot longer on the face. Street makeup is easy to sweat off. But going back to that idea of the highly pigmented color, the stage cream makeup is really going to help your actor's facial features show up to a audience member who's sitting in the very back of the house. If you're doing a production that's in a very small house and your audience is really close to your actors, you may be able to get away with only using street makeup. But more often than not, you're working in a larger size house underneath harsh stage lighting, and you want to make sure that your actors' faces don't get washed out. You're going to have a variety of foundation colors, ones that match your skin tone and ones that are a little bit lighter and darker. Again, allows for different types of characterizations. You're also going to have spirit gum, which is an adhesive that's safe to put on the skin. Very strong adhesive that can help you put on facial hair, or again, that latex or that nose and scar wax that we were talking about. You may also have stage blood as part of your kit. You may have a bruise color wheel that's going to give you some greens, some yellows, some dark browns to help you look bruised. And you're also going to have a stipple sponge that's going to give your skin texture. And triangular wedge-shaped non-latex sponges are going to help you put on your cream-based makeup and blend it quite easily. Additional tools that you're going to want to need, we were just talking about those sponges. The reason I say non-latex versus latex is that a lot of actors are actually allergic to latex. So it's easy to find the non-latex ones, but you want to make sure that that's what you're finding. Primers and moisturizers, really important to make sure that your actor has the proper primer and or moisturizer for their skin type. If they have dry skin, oily skin, combination skin, if they're prone to breakouts. The moisturizer is going to do exactly what it says. It's going to moisturize the skin. The primer is going to act like a very strong barrier between your actor's skin and the makeup. So it's going to keep your actors from breaking out from wearing all of that heavy makeup for a long extended period of time on stage. But it's also going to help that stage makeup stick better to their face and be a little bit longer lasting. I also highly recommend setting powder as the final touch to any makeup application. Usually you can find setting powder in a white color or a translucent color. You may also want to have something that's a little bit more yellow or tan based for your darker skinned actors. You want to make sure that you have eye enhancers, eyelash glue, false eyelashes. These are always important to have. Make sure you have eyeshadows that have a lot of pigment so that they can show up on stage. And then last but not least, for your tools, you also want to always keep a little bit of alcohol. Helps you sanitize your makeup and your brushes and your stipple sponges, but it also acts like an adhesive remover. So if you have a little bit of spirit gum left on your face that you can't get off, you want to take a little bit of alcohol and a Q-tip or a cotton ball, not too much because it can dry the skin out and make your actors break out, to get rid of that last little bit of adhesive. So we're doing all of this and putting on the hair and makeup to make our actors look like transformed people. But one thing to remember that's really important about the makeup is that you have to also apply contour. What's contour? Contour helps define the actor's facial features. So again, those harsh stage lights can often wash your actors' facial features out and make them look like they don't have any cheekbones, any definition within their facial anatomy. The contour is going to include not only your base foundation, which is going to match your skin tone and hide any imperfections, but your highlight and your contour, which together create a contour look, your highlight and your shadow, highlight being a cream-based foundation that's a lot lighter than your natural skin tone, and your shadows being cream-based foundation that's a lot darker than your skin tone. And using these in combination, applying the highlight to your facial features that need to pop out, your cheekbones, your chins, the bridge of your nose, applying shadows to the parts of your facial features that need to be hidden, the hollows of the cheeks, maybe on the sides of the nose, maybe in the temples. This allows for you to also create a lot of different types of characters and really transform your actors from looking like they do in real life to looking like any type of character that you can imagine. It's really important that when you're doing your contour that you understand the difference between a hard edge and a soft edge. A hard edge is going to look like two different planes coming together. We're going to see a strong line of demarcation between light and dark. A soft edge is going to have a gradual fade between one color to the next. It's going to look almost like an ombre effect. Soft edges are used usually for contour. Hard edges are usually used for something that really requires a lot of definition, like old age. Again, this is why you want to practice and experiment on yourself, on your actors, on your crew as much as possible before you get to your dress rehearsal to make sure that any and all products that you're using, all techniques and applications that you're using are going to work as best as they can to give you the look that you want. Thank you.
課題2、ヘアメイクを通じての登場人物分析についてお話しします。ヘアメイクといえば、登場人物の人間性を追求するには一番大切と言っていい部分です。例えば、登場人物が興奮して精神が乱れている場面で、彼女の髪型やメイクが可憐できちんと整っていたら信憑性に欠けるし、観客にはその人物の心の動きが届きにくくなります。衣装デザインのビデオでも説明しましたが、デザイナーとデザインチームの一番大切な仕事とは、脚本に書かれたストーリーを観客に視覚的に伝えるということです。殺人などのサスペンスや恐ろしい場面では、多々赤色の照明が使われたりして、その鬼気迫った場面の雰囲気を増していきます。観客は意識的にか、そうでなくサブリミナル的にか、その視覚的特別効果によってそのスリリングなシーンに引き込まれていきます。ヘアメイクデザインでもそれと同様で、その場面で登場人物が真っ赤な唇で登場すると、さらに恐ろしいムードが加わって物語の進行を視覚的に助けていくのです。つまりヘアデザインとは常に俳優を美しく見せるだけのものではありません。顔をクローズアップにしたり、心の中のセリフを挿入できる映画と違って、演劇ではヘアメイクはまさにその登場人物の心の動きを表現する一番効果的な道具なのです。では実際にヘアメイクがどのようにその登場人物を特定するのに役立っているのでしょう。考えていきたいと思います。ヘアメイクは観客にどのような情報を与えることができるのでしょうか。まずはその登場人物の環境です。ヘアメイクのデザインによってその人物の時代背景、場所、天候、時刻、または経済的、社会的背景の地位など、いろいろな情報がセリフをなくしても観客に視覚的に伝わっていきます。次に健康状態です。この登場人物は健康か、病気をしているのか、どんな病気にかかっているのか、ヘアメイクを通じて観客に細かい情報が伝わります。この写真は学生による鼻が折れた時の演劇用メイクデザインです。登場人物が怪我をしている場合には、その怪我をメイクを使って表現していきます。その際、その怪我がどうやってできたのか、いつできたのかは、 メイクデザイナーにとっては重要な情報です。それによってあざの色や大きさも細かく変わってくるからです。メイクデザイナーは以前はメイクアップモーグといってメイクの写真のリサーチ収集が必死でした。雑誌などで怪我をした人の写真を見つけた場合には切り抜いたりコピーしたりしてその写真をコレクションに加えていったものです。そして珍しいあざや出血などといった特別な状態の写真を見て研究したものでした。今は便利なインターネットがあります。でもインターネットの情報で困ることはあまりに情報がありすぎるということです。これはヘアメイクの分野だけでなくデザイン全般にある問題です。どれが本物の写真でどれが作り物によるものなのか、インターネットの検索では分かりかねることもしょっちゅうです。見たものをそのまま信じないで選球眼を鍛えることも大切です。本物を見抜く勉強や肝心なところはインターネットではなく本で調べるなどといったことも大事です。登場人物の年齢もヘアメイクによって観客に伝わります。役者が役どころよりも若かったり年を取っていたりするのをメイクや髪型やカツラなどで表現していきます。演劇界では年を取った老人メイクの勉強は一番最初の方にします。これはシェーディングや細かい線などを駆使して作り上げる何度も練習すればこそ身につけることのできるテクニックなのです。この写真は私の学生による老人メイクの例題です。最近では映画などではメイクではなく特撮やコンピューターによって年齢を変えていく手法も取られています。次に登場人物の遺伝性です。これは脚本に示されていることが多々あります。例えば、この登場人物はアイルランド出身で、透明な肌にそばかすがあり、縮れた赤毛の頭髪であるなどといった精密な描写が脚本にあることがあります。この場合、シナリオ通りにするのかどうかは、プロデューサーと監督の間で話し合われます。現代劇のシナリオでは、セリフは一字一句、脚本家の許可なしには変更することはできません。しかしこのようなステージディレクションといわれるいわゆるト書きにはあまり厳しい制限はありません。キャスティングによってはト書きにあるような演出ができない可能性があります。例えば役者の髪の毛を赤く染めてパーマをかけることが無理な場合などです。そのような事態にそのト書きを無視するのか、もしくはカツラを使用するのかなどはヘアメイクデザイナー、コスチュームデザイナー、そして監督の間で精密な話し合いが必要となってきます。次に人種です。これは現在の演劇界では大変難しく、特にアメリカでは物議を醸し出す問題です。20世紀までの演劇やオペラでよく見られたのは、その人種ではない役者が髪型やメイクを変えることによってその人種になるといったものです。例えば有名な例ではウエストサイドストーリーの映画バージョンのプエルトリコ人の登場人物たちが顔の色や髪の毛の色を濃くした白人の役者たちによって演じられた件、また蝶々夫人や太平洋序曲などで日本人の役を顔を白塗りにして時代劇のカツラをかぶった西洋人が演じるなど、そのような例は多数あります。20世紀初頭まで演じられ続けたミンストラルショーと呼ばれる黒人パフォーマーを顔を黒塗りにした白人ダンサーが演じて風刺するというのは大変攻撃的で差別的で、今では決してしてはいけないパフォーマンスの一つとなっています。現在では黒人問題だけでなく、その他の人種でもそうでない役者がヘアメイクを加えてその人種になるということについてはかなり厳しい批評が飛び交います。アメリカでは遺伝性問題と合わせてこの人種問題も大きな課題です。ある一定の人種やグループの人々を傷つけることなく、 どうやって役者をキャスティングすることができるのか、またどうやってその登場人物の背景や雰囲気を引き出すことができるのか、簡単には解決できない問題がたくさんあります。またショーによってはシェイクスピアなど性別の転換もよく行われ、その際にはメイクとヘアデザインを駆使しなくてはいけません。日本では歌舞伎や宝塚のように性別の転換が古くから変わらずに保存され、そのため女装するとか男装するとかいうことにはあまり抵抗がありません。アメリカでは別の性を演じたりすることにも問題が生じる場合があります。最近では性別だけでなく、例えばゲイではない役者がゲイの役をするとか、トランスジェンダーではない役者がそういう役をするなど、ある人物を演じるということと、ある人物になりすますという観念が交錯して大変難しい問題になっています。人種問題や性別問題が扱われることが少ない日本の皆さんにも確認しておきたいと思いました。最後に一番大事だと言ってもいい登場人物の性格、雰囲気です。先にもお話しした通り、ヘアメイクデザインはその登場人物の生い立ち、背景、性格を表現するのに一番大事だと言っても過言ではありません。特に髪の毛はその登場人物の気持ちの移り変わりを表現する際にとても効果的です。ではここからはヘアメイクデザイナーのデザインのプロセスを紹介します。予算の大きいブロードウェイなどの劇場ではヘアデザインとメイクデザインが分かれて存在しますが、他のほとんどのシアターでは一般に衣装デザイナーが全てこなすか、もしくはヘアデザイナーとメイクデザイナーが兼任という形も多くあります。ヘアデザイナーとメイクデザイナーは衣装デザイナーと監督がすでにデザインの方向を決定した後からミーティングに参加することがほとんどです。まずは衣装デザイナー同様リサーチをスタートして衣装デザイナーと監督と視覚的にコミュニケーションをとっていきます。衣装デザイナーと監督の登場人物の分析をいち早く理解して自分の構想と兼ね合わせてさらに人物の立体化をさせていきます。リサーチが終わった後はその登場人物の精神状態までを把握してアイディアを視覚的に表現していくことに集中します。登場人物の分析後はスケッチが始まります。スケッチでディレクターや衣装デザイナーと最終的にアイディアを固めます。これらがそのメイクアップスケッチの例です。その後配役が決定した後はもっと具体的にどのようにメイクやヘアデザインをその決まった役者に施していくかということに集中していきます。ここでなされるのがメイクアッププロットという手法です。プロットはスケッチと違い、具体的にどこにどんな色のメイクをどういうふうに使っていくのか、シェーディングやハイライトをどこに入れるのかなど、細かく図と言葉両方で記載されています。このプロットは役者が自分でメイクをマスターしていくための案内書でもあるので、分かりやすく説明されていることが大事です。ディレクターのコンセプトは常に時代交渉や背景に忠実であるとは限りません。派手なコメディのミュージカルであれば、わざとカツラのボリュームを拡大して面白くしたり、シュールで斬新なダンスであればメイクを濃くしてあたかもマスクのように見立てていくということもできます。映画などでは時代劇ものでもわざと主演俳優たちのメイクや髪型を現代風のまま残すということもあります。例えばシェイクスピア・イン・ラブというアメリカアカデミー賞を受賞した有名な映画があります。あの映画はエリザベス女王なども登場する16世紀末のストーリーです。しかし主演のグエネス・パルトローさんのメイクや髪型はあの映画が発表された1998年を反映した現代的なものでした。これは人気女優を今の人気ある姿で見せたいという観客へのアピールもあります。でもそれ以上に たとえ16世紀の背景でも、現代人にはまさにそれが今現在の恋人たちのストーリーのように感じられる。観客が登場人物に感情移入して見られるという利点があります。たとえ時代背景とは少しずれていても、ラブストーリーであるあの映画には、そのような現代人の同調が不可欠だったのです。この写真は私の学生がデザインした真夏の夜の夢のヘアメイクデザインです。ファンタジーものでありながら現代風にアレンジされていて、今日の観客にアピールするデザインになっています。このようにヘアメイクのデザインはディレクターのショーのイメージとともに、時には微妙に、時には大胆に変化していきます。
Now we're going to talk about collaboration and dress rehearsal. This is one of my favorite parts of the rehearsal process. I love the first dress rehearsal. I love seeing all the actors as an ensemble come together with their final looks in place, going out on stage. It's usually a lot of excitement, a lot of chaos. But this is where you finally get a sense, did everything work? Did all of your plans go right? So before we get to that though, we're going to make sure that we've done everything possible to get at the best collaboration that we can. You want to make sure that you are present and have been present for all of the production meetings that you can attend. You want to make sure that during those production meetings, you're asking questions that help you understand the goals of the director and of the costume designer. Everything that you're doing as a team has to be about making sure that you can tell the story first. You don't want to get caught up in the fantastical designs that you've got in mind if it doesn't help the story become clear to the audience. If you can be available for costume fittings, try to be. This is where you can ask questions of your actor, of your costume designer while they're in the same space. This is also where you can try on any wigs and hair pieces as they're trying on their costume to help everyone understand what that final look is going to be. And most importantly, it's just a chance for all of you to be on the same page as to how that character is being developed. While you are doing all of your prep, it's really important to make sure that you and the costume designer are on the same page with regard to given circumstances and character development. Make sure you are sharing your images from your research and your mood board and your image bank. Both of you and the costume designer, have to be on the same page as to what's happening by establishing. You want to make sure that you're also discussing the mood and tone of each piece, and that you're sharing your image bank and your mood boards with each other. You've probably had a discussion with your director where you've shared your mood board and your image bank, but as you continue to make changes, as you're continuing to collaborate, don't stop showing it to your costume designer. Keep going back and forth, refining what the look is going to be. You also want to talk about what your character analysis is and make sure you're on the same page with your costume designer. What's going on with the character psychologically? What's going on with the character's fears and desires? You may not be able to make everything happen visually, but if you have a character who is in love with another character and they're going on a date, you may be thinking to yourself, they might wear a little bit of extra makeup here, for example, because they want to look as pretty as possible. That's how you use the character analysis to help you figure out what you're going to do with your design. Also, as you're discussing things with the costume designer and you're making sure that you're on the same page, this is a chance for you both to talk about any special needs that the characters and the actors may have. Fantastical characters need fantastical makeup. You may need to do an aging makeup for a younger actor playing an older character. There may be a gender switch at some point if an actor is playing multiple characters as part of the ensemble. All of these things are things that need to be discussed and addressed as soon as possible. This also means that you're going to have to ask a lot of questions of the director. Don't be afraid to do this. The director is there to help guide you through their vision and how they understand the play, so that everybody on the production team is telling the same story. Their responsibilities as the director is to help you understand the needs and goals of the production. So don't feel bad if you don't understand something and you need to ask about it. They should be able to help you clarify something. And it's okay if they don't have the answer right away. You've posed the question, they're going to think about it, and the next time you talk with each other or the next time you meet, you can get that answer then. Give them a chance to understand what you need to know so they can go away and work on it, just like you need to go away and work on some things that they're going to ask you about. Most importantly, you want to get rid of the wall that may be between you and the director. You're working a lot with your costume designer, but you may not have that many options to get in and talk to your director outside of a production meeting. So, first and foremost, understand what the whole vision of the production is according to your director. Again, I'm going to say this over and over, but ask questions as much as possible. If you can attend production meetings and rehearsals, that's great. If you can't attend rehearsals, make sure you're checking the rehearsal report each night. A lot of things get decided within that rehearsal room. A lot of small, minute changes get made in that rehearsal room. So give yourself a chance to read through them to figure out what's happening, what's being changed, what's being added and taken away, so that you're not doing extra work that's not going to be needed later on. Then, once you get to the point of having a designer run through, make sure you're there. You want to see anything and everything that's happening on stage. And this is also a chance for the entire design team to be present with the directors and the actors there. You may not get a lot of time to ask questions of your actors, but you're tracking things as you're watching the designer run through. You're seeing, did this quick change feel longer or shorter than I anticipated? Is an actor being flipped upside down with some choreography? What are the surprises that may not have come up during your production meetings and you're reading through the rehearsal reports? And again, anything and everything that you're thinking about doing needs to be discussed. You don't want to surprise your actors, you don't want to surprise your costume designer, and you definitely don't want to surprise the director with something that they haven't been asking for. Be upboard about everything. Be upfront with all of the choices that you're going to make. It's your responsibility to talk to the actors and figure out what their needs are. Do they have any special concerns? Do they have any special skin conditions? Do they have any allergies? If you can, try to meet with each actor individually, especially if it's a smaller cast. On larger casts, you may not be able to do this. You may only be able to meet with your principal actors. But try to talk to each individual actor, and if you're going to those costume fittings, it's an easy time to do that. And figure out what they need to help them create their look. Find out what their concerns are. Find out what they're afraid of doing. Find out what they're not comfortable doing. Don't assume your actors can do their own hair and makeup. Don't assume that any type of research that you put in front of them, they'll be able to accomplish. You want to help them feel comfortable going forward so that they can do the best job possible as the actor. Don't be afraid to talk about character analysis with your actor. They're the ones developing the character. They're the ones playing them on stage. So anything that you can do to help them feel comfortable doing that, anything that you can find out that can make your design more specific is going to be great. You want to be on the same page as everybody, but you need to be on the same page as your actor. Because once you get to dress rehearsal, it's just going to be you and them and the wardrobe crew trying to get these looks accomplished. It's also smart to have a plan B, just in case there are mistakes, just in case something doesn't work out the way in which you thought it was going to work out, just in case anything unexpected happens. You have a plan B, a plan C, a plan D. You've got a lot of different options to make the show work. And you don't need it for every single moment, but you want to have it for those special moments, like a quick change, like a gender switch in the middle of a show, just so that the crew and the actors feel comfortable knowing that they have other options. And you want to have that ready before you get to dress rehearsal so you have time to plan it out and to get the tools ready, to get the hair and makeup ready. So you're not trying to scramble and do that at the last minute between your first dress and your second dress rehearsal. So again, it's your responsibility to figure out anything and everything that your actor is going to need to do the best job they can in doing their hair and makeup. Don't forget to talk about skin conditions, any allergies, hair textures. Most importantly, how much your actor sweats. Depending on the type of show, the type of costume, the type of stage venue that you're going to have, your actor may get really, really hot on stage. So sweat can make or break your hair design and your makeup design. There are a lot of little tricks you can do with coming up with different types of looks and to keep your actor sweating. But if you don't know that they're a sweater, there's nothing you can do at the last minute. You want to know how comfortable your actor is doing their hair and makeup. You may have to make some adjustments and bring down the level of complications, the level of intricacy that you originally planned for if your actor doesn't know how to do their makeup, doesn't know how to wear false eyelashes, doesn't know how to use a curling iron. And it's okay. They're actors. Should they know how to do these things? Maybe, maybe not. Will they always know how to do these things? Guaranteed no. So whatever you can do with them, with the wardrobe crew, to help them figure this out, the better it's going to be for everyone when you get to dress rehearsals. Take the time to schedule tutorials for your actors. This is going to help your actor. This is going to help your wardrobe crew, but this is going to help you know that when you get to dress rehearsal, you've already worked out and anticipated any problems that they may have, and you've given them a path to follow to get their makeups done. You also want to, before the dress rehearsal, test out any special makeups, any hair extensions, any wigs. Don't wait until dress rehearsal to try these out. Do it during the fitting. Do it if you can. Do it during tech. If you can grab an actor for a moment, don't expect to be able to grab them, but talk with stage management and see what you can do. If you can have an hour or two with an actor when they're not on stage for tech, it's a great time to do a tutorial. Once you get to dress rehearsals, don't just sit in the house and watch. Get on your feet and go back and forth between backstage, the dressing rooms, and the house. You always want to be out in the audience to get an idea of what things are going to look like. Move around, check your sight lines, sit close to the stage, sit all the way at the back of the audience area. Get as many different vantage points to check out your makeup as possible. Check out the hair. Maybe a wig looks great from the front, but when the actor turns around to exit the stage, you can see exactly where the wig is sitting on top of their own hairline in the back. Don't be afraid to make small changes, minute changes during the dress rehearsal as the show is going on. If you see a lip color that doesn't work with the outfit and the actor can go off stage and have a moment before they come back, go backstage into the dressing room and say, hey, I had a plan B. I had a different shade of red that I want you to try. Can you take the lipstick that you have on and put a new lipstick on? Thanks so much. Let's see what happens. Take pictures as you're making changes so that way you and the production team, the costume designer, and the director can talk about what they want to do going forward. And also make sure that you're checking in with your costume designer throughout that first dress rehearsal to see whatever notes they may have for you. Don't leave before tech notes happen. You may be tempted to go backstage to make sure that the wigs are all stored properly, that the makeup is restored properly, and that everything is set before the dress rehearsal that next evening. But it's really important to stick around for tech notes. This is where last minute questions come up, last minute solutions, and you want to be present to provide any ideas or ask any questions that you may have before you go on to the next dress rehearsal. And this may be the only time the full team is together before we start the next dress rehearsal. So again, you're going to do as much prep as possible. You're going to have all of your tools set out, as much makeup as needed already set out. You're going to create stations for the actors to be able to go to for any shared items that they may have. You're also going to, as part of your prep, collaborate and train your wardrobe on any special techniques. So you're setting up tutorials for your actors, you're setting up tutorials for your wardrobe. Sometimes they're the same tutorial, sometimes they're not. That's okay. Don't be afraid to teach them what they need to do. Again, it's about making sure that the show has a cohesive look and that the story is being told. And anything and everything that you're planning for can change in an instant. So don't be afraid to make changes. Be flexible. This is why you want to have alternatives for your choices. So that way, if something doesn't work, you have a different idea ready to grab and apply or put on your actor at a moment's notice. During the dress rehearsal, let your actors make mistakes. They're trying things for the first time. They're not going to get everything right. It's okay. Take note of it. Tell them at the end of the evening, tell them during the run if you can, but don't be upset with your actors if they don't get something right the first time. Let the crew practice the quick changes and any specific makeup and hair needs as much as possible. Again, if you can get this practice during tech, it's great, but if you can't, just be present to help them with anything that they may need during that first dress rehearsal. After that first dress rehearsal, though, you're going to be less and less hands-on with what you do. The wardrobe crew and the actors need time to practice doing it by themselves. You're not going to be there for every single show after opening night, and you may not even be there for opening night to help them out. So the more that you allow them to figure out how to do it during that small window of time that they have before they go on stage, the easier it's going to be for them to feel in control, to feel confident, and to do the look as you want it to look, instead of waiting until opening night to say, now you're on your own. What we do is important. We're the last little final details that help bring the character to life. Your actors and directors have been working nonstop to develop the characters and figure out the best way to make them a three-dimensional, fully realized character on stage. But now they've got a costume that's going to make them look and feel like they're a different person. But if they have their hair and their makeup looking like they wear it every single day outside of rehearsal, they're not going to feel transformed. So everything that we do as hair and makeup designers is just that cherry on top. It's just the last little step in making the whole world come to life. So please believe that hair and makeup is the last step to finalize the character. It's not extra. It's absolutely necessary because we're talking about on-stage transformation. We're talking about taking the audience to a different place in time. So we need to allow the audience to not be distracted by anything that they're seeing, so they can just listen and watch and participate if necessary to see a whole world, a whole story unfold on stage. If we don't do our jobs when we do our research, if we don't prep everything, if we don't allow the actors and the wardrobe crew to feel as comfortable as possible, they're not going to be finalized. If we haven't worked with the director every single step of the way and gotten their goals met, then it's not going to be finalized. You as a designer have an important role to make sure that anything and everything that you're putting on stage is there to support the story, is there to support the design team, is there to support the production, and is there to support the playwright's intentions and visions. Thank you so much.